kind of educational / commerce website. How bad can that be? Okay. It was a great concept, but we just didn't have the right mix of people. They also didn't know who to bring in at the right time. Some examples of collaborations. Valdis and I have a good friend of ours, June Holly, who, along with a few other people in Athens, Ohio, over a 20-year period, totally turned around a completely impoverished economic area. This is in southern Appalachian, Ohio. Turned that around just through the innovation of small businesses, all through new collaborations. A farmer hooking up with a web developer, hooking up with a marketing person, graphics person, hooking up with a grant writer or business plan, guru, and they were able to tweak these businesses and make them happen. Now, what is it, a couple hundred, right? Actually, several hundred new businesses have popped up and transformed this area in the last 20 years, all through collaborations. But again, through this multidisciplinary.
And they keep recombining.
Yeah, and
it's just amazing. Someone's working here, then they're working there, then the stories keep exchanging, and information keeps flowing around. It's just an amazing place.
It's just like a hotbed. It's like they cannot fail. Now they've had actually very little failure, but I think that's because they did the collaboration so right. And that was June's genius, was to know exactly who the right people at the right time were. Toyota, it's interesting now, we talk about collaboration. Toyota, places like Toyota and GE are outsourcing their R&D right, into networked R&D, and they're not even shops anymore, but they're shops in the sense that you have one guy in Taiwan and a guy in Seattle and a guy in Finland or a guy in Latvia, right, all collaborating around new product development for Toyota or GE. And that's the new model now. It's getting away from them doing things inside their own controlled environment to a much more almost open source in terms of how the functionality goes. Not necessarily the legalities of it, but definitely the way it occurs. A friend of mine, Charlie Wilkes, a few years ago, down in Akron, was the first person to really go around to the universities and say, you guys really need to be buddying up with companies trying to do polymer products. So he hooked up the researchers in labs with the academicians and the researchers in the universities, and formed a collaborative of about 40 or 50 people in different entities, and they came up with 12 brand new patents for polymer applications. And, here polymer, Akron's like the polymer capital of the world, so we had a lot of that here. But he tells the story in a very nonchalant way of, we just pulled these people together and they made magic happen. Okay. So a lot of it is these kind of crossing, blurring, and obliterating boundaries that we end up with the collaborations. When I did the research for collaborative creativity 10 years ago, almost all the artists and inventors that I talked to said that they create best in collaboration with other people. If you look back in the arts, the Picassos and the Matisses were all collaborators. All collaborators. They all had their friends they hung out with. They worked out their ideas. Again, unfortunately, the media, which represents kind of our patriarchal view of our culture, always only has the one guy on the front cover of the magazine, right? Or one person has to sign it. A lot of these guys said, if I was honest, I would have our whole team sign paintings or sign sculptures, right? But we're told that no, one name has to go on it because people can't relate to our culture, can't relate to a team, right, of signatures. We want to know who the hero was because we think it's cooler. Well, it is cooler, but it's inaccurate.
Because we're teaching everybody to be one person
Yeah, that's, well, when I went to school, we were taught actually how not to collaborate. The only time we collaborated, in school, we were called to the office for. And they called it cheating. And for us, it was collaboration. You know, it was like, what'd you get on this one? You know?
Right, but the thing is that we set kids up that they're not going to be collaborators. It's the people who break out of that, aren't worried about being called a cheater, that
Yeah,
actually succeed.
right.
So we're not really teaching kids how to be in the new economy.
Well, and I think that has to change. I mean, the part I'm doing for it is I still teach at the Executive MBA program at Kent State. And I have no business teaching there because I don't have an MBA, as I always tell my students. But that's what I like about it, is I'm helping them get their little MBAs. And the classes that I teach, I have a cheating rule, which is part of the points you're going to get for this class is cheating, right? If you want to work in the corporate world, you're going to have to be able to trade and exchange, right, resources and create things together. Okay? It's really, and it is a function of scale and speed, right? That when we're working together, we can get to scale and we get to, and speed occurs too, right? Because of the synergy. If you look at Wiki, the other talk going on right now that I wish I was at, except I'm really liking being here, but if I wasn't here, is what I'm saying, I'd be at the Wiki thing. Isn't that now, Jim? Isn't the Wiki? Yeah. Yeah, right next door. What a great thing, right? The Virginia Tech, they had like 120,000 posts in the first, few hours or a couple days. Lots of accuracy. Wikipedia has, right, talk about collaborative effort. According to New York Times, has virtually the same accuracy and, of course, more speed than Britannica. So I know he's talking a lot about the faults and failures, both from a technical and a content point of view. But the fact of the matter is, when the experts have looked at it next to Britannica, they're saying you can go with Wikipedia. Okay, it's very faithful and trustworthy.
And yet, so many schools are actually making it a rule that you can't use Wikipedia.
But I think that goes to Gloria's point. You can't use Wikipedia because we have this whole kind of fundamental bias that how could anything that's open source, right, be good? I mean, if like when I went to school, if I raised my hand, we didn't have open source as a concept then, but if I said, you know what, 10 Commandments, open source those puppies, okay? I would have been smacked, right? Right? Math, let's open source that. Let's decide together, right, what the rules should be. Why not? But that's what's transforming the world, are the innovations and the changes happening through collaboration. In this town, everything good we see, everything new, right, has happened through collaboration. You look at the transformation of neighborhoods like Ohio City and Tremont. You see the transformation in the media industry through the blog sphere, where the mainstream media now takes a lot of its cues from. Right. Tremendous amount of collaboration going on there. If you look at the arts, right, the presence of all the galleries in Tremont, Murray Hill, right, different parts of the city, all the new stuff happening. One Cleveland, which is called something else. What is it now? One Community, yeah. I mean, all these things are happening.
One Community plus.
Plus.
That's right. Don't get that plus on everything you do, Jack.
You know what? I think that's. I'll take it personally. I'm not that plus. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. 44W.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mrs. 44W.
Yeah, they're right. No.
Cheating.
Cheating.
There's a friend of ours, Bob McDonald, who's recently retired from a thing called Life USA.
Okay.
Used to be North American Life Academy. He wrote a book called Cheat to Win, CTW.
Okay.
And his whole premise in the whole book is you have to break the rules for any of us to go forward as a people.
Yeah.
And he's proven that amply.
Right. Exactly.
Plus.
Plus. Thanks. Yeah, you keep on that.
Think about, go back to high school and think about all the kids you went to high school with, and think about all the smartest kids. where are they today?
They're working for somebody.
Yeah, they're working for somebody. They're not in the newspapers. You know, I got together with a couple old pals of mine from Euclid High School, and we're thinking, you know, who are the people that have made it to a newspaper, to a magazine, things like that? And they were all the B and C students. They weren't the A students.
Right.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, I took advanced placement classes. None of the people that I went to class with have I ever seen in any publication anywhere.
So if you broke
And
the
I'm-
mold,
and
then I
I'm
know
widely
you got
read.
good grades.
Well,
I know you had to get good grades.
I got okay grades.
Okay.
But the most famous person from my graduating class is Joe Lovano.
Okay.
So anybody who knows jazz knows Joe Lovano. He was a C student, except in music. He was a quadruple plus. Plus. Yeah.
Well, I think
27 pluses. But you know,
yeah.
he was, I mean, but there was that same type of thing. You know, there were people that were good at something and they really didn't care about the system, or they did just enough to get through the system, and then they went out and did their own thing.
Right, because they realized that the system wasn't going to work for them.
Right.
I mean, I think that's, and some kids that are creative in high school find that out very early, that the grades just aren't that important.
Now the top 1%, like the artists and inventors who I interviewed for the book, you know, the top 1% of the smart group, okay, they really get it. And I'll just finish up with an anecdote from that. I was in New York a couple weeks ago, and I was at a conference, and I happened to be standing on the sidewalk waiting for a cab with a guy, and I got in the conversation, find out that he's the mentor of the young guy who just won the Nobel Prize in biochemistry. And I'm talking to him about research and what's happening today, and it's all collaboration. He said, we cannot collaborate enough or fast enough with people outside of our area. You know, so other, like pharmaceutical companies, other researchers, you know, sharing of information is really, really hot. And they know that. They know that we're smarter together, and and they know they have to get to market fast, because they're all doing basic science to, you know, get rid of Hep C, which is affects billions of people on the planet, and they know they need to get there as quickly as possible. They will never take the approach that we're smarter than anybody, and we have to get there alone. So I want to end on that note and honor our time, because we're keeping the meatball rolling here. And thank you so much for inviting me into the talk here, and thanks for the dialogue. Thank you.